Wake the up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
The Cyberpunk 2077 trailer is finally here, and with it comes a horde of new details, including a release date of all things. However, the new cinematic trailer has a bunch of hidden details that reveal not only new things about the story, but different gameplay mechanics as well that you may have missed. Let's go over all the new information we can glean over this new cinematic trailer, starting with the story. So just to start us off, the first shot is going to be one of Night City's skyline, and with it we can see a horde of new buildings that people who played the tabletop RPG that Cyberpunk 2077 is based off of, Cyberpunk 2020, can notice new details in the skyline, including new corporations, and just an overall improvement, as it's been approximately 57 years since the tabletop RPG took place. Moving along to our next scene, we see ourselves in front of what is likely a sex motel, the No-Tell Motel. And in front of the No-Tell Motel, we can see some cop cars flying overhead, and they're in hot pursuit of something. Now, we heard sirens going on in the last scene just looking at Night City, and it seems like some situation has happened that we're unaware of right now. However, it likely involves V because this is a video game, so pretty much everything revolves around us. And if all the sirens and cop cars wasn't enough to tell you that something has clearly just happened, V pulls up in what is likely a cab, and across the side of the cab, we can see a pattern that does not fit with Jackie's car that we had previously seen in the E3 2018 trailer. In addition to this pattern that proves it's not our typical car, we can see a bunch of bullet holes suggesting that we just came out of a hot zone, and it was likely fairly recently, as someone who is pursued by cops and actively being shooted at would likely not hold on to the car that they were previously seen in for very long. We then get our first shot of V, who we can recognize from his signature samurai jacket. And this is actually the first time that we're going to be able to see and interact with a voiced over male version of V, as all of the previous trailers from 2018 featured the female voiceover. Now, it's revealed in just a little bit that V is actually here to meet with Dexter DeShawn, who's a bit of a local crime lord who we actually met last E3 when he tasked V to obtain a bot that was stolen from a corpo convent. This was stolen by a group of a psycho gang that we tasked and retrieved, which was pretty much the majority of the last E3 trailer. And as part of this, we had kind of proven ourselves to Dexter DeShawn and thought we were going to hit it big if we could just get in with his crowd. We then move to the scene where V meets with Dexter DeShawn, and during their conversation, in which he states that he was off to receive a chip and that he has it, we overhear that there's a newscast stating that there have been multiple fires and gunshots that had happened recently, and that while the fire is contained now, the person of interest had gotten away and the cops are still looking for, which is likely a reference to us and the job that we had just committed. Dexter comments on this, saying that we're all over the news, confirming that this news story is about us. And it speaks that this job took place at a hotel, though other than that, we aren't given any more details from the newscast. Now, some people may think that this is just a continuation of the previous story immediately, as we had done a job for Dexter DeShawn, and now we're back. I would disagree there, and I think most people would agree with me, that this is a completely different job. The first job was more of a prove yourself, get further work from Dexter DeShawn, and now we've gone and done another job to receive a specific chip, as that was not the point of receiving the Corpo bot before. And thus, it makes sense that this trailer is actually taking place logistically after the gameplay trailer that we had seen at last year's E3. Dexter DeShawn looks at V and tells him immediately to hit the showers because he is covered in blood. And while V isn't actually wounded, we soon find out just whose blood that is in a nice little flashback sequence that we get in the scummy motel bathroom mirror. The flashback appears to be this hotel job that we heard about on the news, and it does not seem to be going well in that we are actively running from whatever hotel security or gang members. Doesn't really matter. A bunch of people are shooting guns at us and we're trying to get away in the cab. Now, V is lucky enough to get away scot-free, but our good friend Jackie from last year's trailer is not so lucky. However, unlike the viewers, V is not so observant about this and goes into a little bit of a rant about how they're really going to make it big now, which is reminiscent of how V acted in the last trailer as well.
Vic, shit just got real. Hitting the major leagues. Got a job from Dexter, DeShawn.
V eventually notices that his friend is bleeding out, and with Jackie's last words, we see him hand over the chip that was the main goal of this mission that Jackie died for. Now, during V's little rant, we do hear that they had gone in and out, and that's why it had gone so quickly, and he seems very happy with how it went, which may suggest that this is a decision that the character made about how to go about this job. Previously at last year's E3, they had said that almost every mission has many different paths to complete your goal, and all of those paths have different consequences in the story. If V made the decision to go in guns blazing and do this job quickly, Jackie's death may be the result of that decision. And thus, if a character were to choose a more stealthy approach, Jackie may be saved.
Back. What would have happened if we hadn't met with the Militech agent? Or told Royce about the agent and her plans? Or just decided to buy the bot ourselves? So many options, so many possibilities.
And if losing her best friend wasn't enough, V walks out of the bathroom only to be assaulted immediately by the thug guarding Dexter DeShawn. Now, V is far from helpless and immediately breaks out his mantis blades, which we had previously been told was a high-level augment, suggesting that this may be even later in the game than I kind of initially thought. Dexter kind of explains why he's backstabbing you and saying that you've brought down every corpo cop onto them and led them to the motel, and now they have to deal with all this, again suggesting that maybe this was too much of a guns blazing approach and that's why you're being betrayed, and even this consequence may be because of a poor decision on the part of the player. Now, even when being asphyxiated, Jackie is far from helpless again and is able to use his mantis blades to turn the guard into mixed meat. And this is when we get one of the coolest scenes of the entire trailer, I think, which is when a netrunner, which is Cyberpunk's kind of version of a hacker which can hack into not only computers, but humans in this case, as the two are extremely interchanged, causes his mantis blades specifically to malfunction. And this is confirmed by the optics that we can see on the screen, which says that there is a system breach of the mantis blades specifically, and that is why V is able to pick up a gun and shoot the netrunner right in the face anyways. The scene ends with us attempting to shoot Dexter DeShawn and Dexter DeShawn attempting to shoot to us, and it appears that both sides have fired before the screen goes black. The cinematic part of this trailer ends with us waking up in a junkyard where it may be presumed that Dexter succeeded in shooting us, as we appear to be far away from the motel in the outer edge of Night City. As you can tell on the periphery that we're not downtown, as there are no skyscrapers or anything. As part of this, we do see the systems in our body begin to reboot, and we actually get some preliminary scan results that are shown on the right of the screen. In them, we see that our vision has become critical, there's a connection problem with our memory, which is also critical, and there's a part with an ID number that is unknown to us that states that a part of us has been hacked and is also critical, though we have no idea what this aspect or area is. This may suggest that our character starts off with higher level modifications that we eventually lose because of this potential death, or that we may lose part of our memory as part of an amnesia trope. Unknown right now. However, what is known is we are told to wake up by no one else than Keanu Reeves himself, and he calls us samurai, which is likely a reference to the samurai jacket that was displayed so vividly at the beginning of the trailer, and states that we have a city to burn, suggesting that Dexter DeShawn is going down for everything that he has done to us. This leaves us with a major question of whether or not these events are entirely avoidable. Like I said before, it has been said multiple times by CD Projekt Red that we have decisions to make, and all of those decisions have major consequences. Is this the result of a poor decision to go in guns blazing? Or is Jackie's death and our betrayal by Dexter DeShawn just something that's going to happen no matter what we do? Time will tell. This ends the main part of the cinematic trailer, but after Keanu Reeves' session on the E3 floor, we actually get a short second trailer, which has even more packed hidden details in it that would be interesting for us to go through screen by screen, as they kind of happen too quickly to be helpful to play as just one whole video. Now, the first shot that we can see here appears to be some kind of cult hideout. Pausing on it, I initially thought that this could be something like a DJ booth, and then I realized quickly how wrong I was. We can see this kind of almost satanic kind of skull figure that they all seem to be pointing at. And then there's a sort of altar that the main guy, or I guess my DJ booth, appears to be the main focus of the attention. The audience appears to just be standing there, and you can see what almost looks like pews, and it's very religious in feeling as there's multiple candles kind of around the altar as well. The next shot is us holding up a gun to a likely corpo, and there aren't too many details really to be gleaned from this other than that we're a kind of violent person. But the one thing that I will note on this scene is that if you notice, our arm that we're holding our gun with is completely metallic, suggesting just how modified V can be by the end of the game. We then get some random shots of Night City's markets, which we saw a lot of in E3's trailer last year. And then we get one of the most interesting scenes in this short clip, which is us talking to someone called Mr. Hansen, who does appear to be an accomplice of the man played by Keanu Reeves, who rescued us from the junkyard, as that man is standing back to the right of the screen, kind of presenting us to this Mr. Hansen, suggesting that we join their cause. We then get various things suggesting new features, such as the ability to ride a motorcycle, a new kind of whip weapon, and a re-demonstration of how hacking skills will work. We then get to probably the most important story part of this trailer, which is we're told by someone who appears to be a Ripper Doc, as the location in which he's presented appears extremely similar to the Ripper Doc that we saw last year at E3. There are similar chairs and equipments, and she tells us that we've, quote, gone through to the other side, suggesting that we may have actually been killed by Dexter DeShawn and come back to life somehow, likely through some kind of augmented technology. We are then shown to be voluntarily getting into an ice bucket, which we have seen previously only in the context of people who are kidnapped and taken for body parts, but we're then shown a scene of us sitting in that same tub, again, full metal hands, displaying just how modified we are, and we see other patients here on the right of this screen as well, suggesting that we may not be the only ones that this Ripper Doc or whatever doctor has brought back before. While in this ice bath, we then get a loading screen, which appears to be some sort of memory sequence as the vision that we have completely changes of the scene, and then we get this kind of pseudo black and white scene that isn't really easy to make details out of. This rips away, and the last shot we get of the entire trailer is of that same potential Ripper Doc, suggesting just how important she is to the overall story before we fade into the Cyberpunk logo. And with that, that's pretty much all that we can glean off of the physical trailer, but a couple other things that I do want to comment on is that Cyberpunk is already ready to pre-order, and while all the details of what you get haven't been explicitly released yet, we have been able to find some leaks which do confirm that the game comes with some physical items, including a map of Night City, postcards from Night City, a reversible cover, game soundtracks, and art booklets, and that while the collector's edition hasn't officially been announced yet, it has also been leaked and will be approximately $250 US, and I'll put a picture of it on the screen right now, but it does include some cool like motorcycle figurines, all those stickers and everything that I had mentioned before, but it looks like a physical art book rather than a digital one, among a bunch of other things. And with that, I cannot wait till 2020, not only because it's the exact year that apparently Cyberpunk 2020, the tabletop RPG, took place, which makes perfect sense that they would release during, but just to get this game. I cannot wait for even more details to come out, and I hope that this is not the only thing we learn about it from E3 this year. I'm sure in all of these trailers that I did not pick out every single little detail, and I want to hear about anything that you guys find because I cannot get enough Cyberpunk. Leave them down in the comments below. If you want to hear more Cyberpunk, I'll be covering it from here on out, so give me a like, favorite, or subscribe to get more. I'm RPGMD, writing your prescription on all things dice, dragons, and gaming, and for all things Cyberpunk, stay tuned.